be kicked out like I was, and to
Yeah.
then get that big amount, like $20,000 worth of new business in 30 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
was like, that had to be God, right? It took away all doubt, took away all fear, and
Splice Originals.
Hello, viewers. Welcome to another beautiful episode of the Nana Yaya Boa podcast. Today, I have with me Mr. Timothy Bond, who is a publisher. Not only that, he's also an author. So, in this particular episode, my intention is that we're going to talk about the power of story. We're going to talk about the publishing industry, and we are also going to talk about his entrepreneurship journey. And if you're an author, right, I was thinking about writing your story and getting it out there. Who do you who do you go to? There are the big publishing houses, and then there are TruVines. That is Mr. Timothy Bond. So, Mr. Timothy Bond, welcome to the Nana Yaya Boa podcast. Um, your work as a publisher and entrepreneurship, I do understand also, is making changes, and these changes don't just come by like that. It is filled with great grace and purpose. And I hope that you'll be able to share with my audience from across the world some of the challenges and some of the successes and what inspired you to do what you are doing right now. So, I will not waste time. I will get right into the mind behind the story behind the man. Yes, the story behind the man. Mr. Timothy Bond, welcome to the Nana Yaya Boa podcast.
well, thank you for having me. And it's truly an honor. Now, let me help me so I don't want to mess up your name. It's
Yes,
Nana Yaya
yeah, yeah, boa.
Yabua.
Yes,
Okay, Nana
yes.
Nana. Okay, so first of all, I just want to thank you for inviting me to the show. I know when you invited me at first, I got the flu, and then it was like I went. It looked like I ghosted you, but I really I wasn't ghosting you. That was a tough 2 weeks for me because I also have asthma, and it really.
Oh my goodness.
I'm glad that we got a chance to connect, and I'm looking forward to sharing stories with a fellow
Yes.
storyteller.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. The question I really normally love to hear or know is why you decided to say yes, because you could have said no, but
Mhm.
you said yes. What made you say yes?
I have a philosophy in life to walk through every open door, right?
Oh,
And
okay.
I believe that God guides us, and all of our dreams that we have, they are happening. We just don't know it. Like, it's something called the bridge of incidents, right? Which is
Mm,
you set a goal and you set some expectations, or you speak something into the universe, and then it seems like nothing is happening, but you meet somebody here, you talk to somebody there, you go to this conference, right? All of these things are working together to take you to the place where you want to be. So when a door is open, you have to walk through it, and so that's my philosophy on life. Me and my wife adopted that. We teach our kids that walk through every open door, and I just trust that God won't lead me to doors that I shouldn't be going to. So if a door is shut, then I say thank you, God, for shutting that door. But every door that's open, I take it. So that's why.
thank you. Thank you. I love that. I love that. Um, so let's begin with your story. Tell us about your background and who Timothy Bond is behind all these books that are behind you.
Timothy Bond was a silly, insecure kid who played Nintendo games all day. Was a terrible student because I like to play more than I like to read. But I had a little gift. I had a gift of writing.
Mm,
Right? I didn't understand it. I didn't know it. One day I decided to. I was gonna sit down. My mom and dad had a computer, and I said I want to be a writer. And so I just sat down and started writing a story. And I just got up and left. When I was bored and I was done with the little game, I got up and left. Well, my brother went back and read what I wrote, and he was like, "Man, that was really good." And I was like, "Oh, really? Okay." And I'm off playing again. And then when I really got a really clear message that I had something a little unique about my ability to write, one day for some reason I got inspired to write a paper that had quotes and citations. I just got this inspiration, and so we used to, this was back in the day before the internet. This is in the day of encyclopedias. So kids, if you were born before, if you were born after 1990,
I was about to say that you don't look so old yourself.
Really?
You look like you're in your 20s, except your gray hairs, but then that you
Yeah.
can't even speak with it.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about the days before all these internet encyclopedias,
Yeah.
I got you. I understand.
Yeah. So kids, these are encyclopedias. Was our internet. It was
Yes.
a bunch of books that filled up a whole wall from A to Z, everything you want to know about the world. So I went and I got some encyclopedias, and somehow I literally was like pulled to the right book, right? It just seemed like, wow, yeah, this is significant, this is relevant. So I pulled a few quotes and cited a few people, and again printed this up because my brother had like a word processor.
Yes.
The typewriter that was also digital, and it also printed. Just like, I'm really dating myself. But anyway, I printed it up, and again, once I got bored, I printed it up. I put it on the counter, the kitchen counter, and my mom picked it up, and she was like, "Who wrote this paper?" And I told her I wrote it because this is like my 9th grade, the summer before I went to the 9th grade. Okay, so I was coming out of the 8th grade. I said I wrote it, and my mom was like, "Stop lying." And I was like, "No, I wrote it." And she's like, "This is a college level paper, right?" And I was like, "Okay." And so that's when I really kind of got a glimpse of like, maybe I'm good at writing, because she was really like, she thought I was lying to her.
Yes.
And so from there, that's been the only thing that I really had, a real connection to, as far as a skill or a gift or a talent. And then when I went to college, my brother said, you need to major in English. My big brother, he was kind of like, my mentor, my hero. So whatever he said, I did. So I got into college. He said, you need to study English because you're a great writer. I was like, okay. And then when I got in there, because he was the SGA president, he said, I want you to go down and talk to such and such at the student newspaper. So I went down and I started writing for the TSU, Tennessee State University newspaper. Okay. And that led me into journalism and English, which once I graduated from college, I found a job at a publishing company, a historic publishing company here in Nashville, Tennessee. So I get the job, right? I get the job, and now they tell me, here's your office, and we're gonna bring you your first project. All right. So for 30 days now, they bring me nothing. I'm sitting in the office for 30 days, like wondering, do they even remember that they hired me, right? But while I'm sitting there, I get the inspiration. How about why don't I work on a book cover, right? Here I am in the office of editors and book designers. Like, I have access to all of these professionals, and I always wanted to write or publish my book of poetry. So I said, I'm going to create a book cover, right? And then I started working all this time while I'm sitting in the office waiting on my first project. I created a book cover. Then I started compiling my poetry. I asked one of the editors who I worked with, hey, will you look at my poems and edit it, right? She didn't even charge me. So she did the editing. I took my book cover that I created through Microsoft Word. I took it over to the designer, and she was like, oh, we got to fix this. So she fixed all the measurements, right? So all this stuff is just kind of laying out while I'm sitting in this office doing nothing. And then I said, this was during a time where self-publishing had a stigma, right?
Yes.
Self-publishing was considered, you're not good enough to be published.
Yes.
So I said, I want to put a business name on the back of the book so it looks legit. I want my book to look like, a legitimate published book. So I put a company name on the back called the TruVine Publishing Company.
Oh.
Right? So I put the company name on the back and had no intentions of really starting a business. The whole goal was to publish my books and make it look as professional as possible. I put the book out and I said, let me test this. So I went to Barnes & Noble, and I said, would you all buy my book? And they took a look at it. There are certain things that you have to have for your book to be in a bookstore, certain, design criteria. And they bought 4 books on the spot. So that was very encouraging. Then the next thing you know, one of my friends came up to me and said, how'd you publish your book? And I told her that I published the book, I have to self-publish. And she said, how much would you charge me to publish my book? And from that point on in 2004, I've been publishing books. And like I told you about the bridge of incidents,
Yes.
one person meets one person. Then I get a call from somebody in New York. And New York starts to, that's a place where business is really booming. Yes. New York starts to expand my business because now I'm meeting a lot more people who want to publish. Then I started getting clients in different countries, Switzerland, Jamaica, Bahamas. And before you know it, 20 years later, here I am still publishing books,
So from sitting down, not doing anything, getting paid for 30 days.
Right.
But this is the difference between you and any other person. Utilizing that period of time to actually do work.
Right.
Somebody will just have said, you know what? I just kind of go chill and get paid and come home. Right. But you found a purpose during that period of time to let your voice, be heard, be known. And as you said, you've been continuously doing that till present.
Yeah.
And for viewers who don't know, I chanced across your name on Dr. Rubin, who you published book. Yeah. So that is how I traced you and connected with you. And then you said yes. Yeah. And like I said earlier, it's a selfish reason. Yeah, right. And I will own up to it because I have projects in the line that needs to come out. So when I came to you, it's more for me than, So
that's the beauty of having a podcast, The podcast it's really about their interest in life, and the audience gets to partake and enjoy it as well. But
and that is very true. Yeah. So let's how do we call it? You've answered how this seed was planted in your early years. You just got bored, you sat down, you did it, and then the family around you gave you that, push, inspiration, or how do we call it? That you have this, pursue it, push it. Yes. Yeah. But then when you got into this business, how did family take it, your parents?
So here's the thing. My pursuit of this business, I had what I tell people was an amateur mindset. What I mean by that is it was a good side gig for me for years. Okay. So I started the business in 2004, but I was still in that mindset. Like, you got to have a 9-to-5 job. You need your benefits. You need your 401k. Right. And so for 16 years, Nana, I worked jobs that I hated. Right. I worked jobs that I didn't feel fulfilled. I was never good at them because I really didn't connect with them. Right.
Your body was there, but your soul was not.
Right. And so my company, it took me 20 years to realize that, it took me 16 years to realize that my publishing company was the only true consistent thing in my life. The only thing that was consistent as far as a career was my publishing company. And so in 2020, you said I'd be a storyteller, and I am. So in 2020, right, I'm working at this job that I hate, We're in quarantine, and I get to my mother's house because I was working from my mother's house to take care of her as well. And so I get to my mother's house, I turn on my computer, and I get an email from my manager. And my manager says, "Hey, give me a call when you get in." So I call my manager, and he says, "Yeah, we're gonna have to let you go. Um, we're just gonna take another. We just decided to go another direction." Now I don't know what I did. They never. I have their computer to this day. They never asked for their computer back. I never got a pink slip. I never got documentation saying I was fired. But the day before, the Saturday before that happened, I prayed and I said, "God, I'm tired, like, of trying to figure out my purpose." I said, "If you want something better from me, you're gonna have to make it happen." I said, because I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what I'm not doing right. So if you want something better from me, you're gonna have to make it happen. That was on September the 19th. September the 21st, I go
You
to
were
work
fired.
tired, right?
Well, you wanted it very nice and clear, so
Yeah. I go to work, I get fired. But I remembered that I had that prayer Saturday. And I said, okay. I said, this is it. I said, I'm going to make this company my full-time job from this point forward. This is what I do. I immediately picked up my phone and I reached out to a man I had been I've been talking to for over a year. This man had every reason. Every time we talk, I'm not ready yet. Give me this much time, whatever. On that day, Nana, within 5 minutes of getting fired, I called him before I could finish saying who I was.
he was ready.
You know what, man? I'm tired of putting this off. Let me get my credit card, right? He gets his credit card, pays. I have made in 5 minutes what I would have made working a month and a half at this job, right? In 5 minutes. All right. So then after I close that deal, of course I'm excited. And I'm like, all right, let's call another guy. So I call another guy I've been working with for over a year. And same thing. Before I can finish saying, hey, what are we doing? He says, man, let me get my credit card. Let's get this thing going. Now, within 30 minutes of losing my job, I had made 3 months worth of income from this business. Now, I said, okay, I hear you, Lord. And I have been, the business has been self-sustaining and growing and increasing ever since that day in 2020. And, and I'm sure we'll get into the challenges of entrepreneurship because there are many. So don't let this story of 3 months of income in 30 minutes make you say, I'm quitting my job, right? Because it's a roller coasters of ups and downs, but it's definitely worth it.
Definitely. As you were speaking, I began thinking about the seeds that you've sown that were ready to be germinated. But if we take you as a farmer, it's whether you are actually paying attention and watering. So when you started paying attention and watering by being fired from somebody's farm, then you came to your own farm or garden to pay attention, and you see what you sown is what you reap.
Right. The fruit was ready. The fruit was
ready.
I love that analogy. I love that.
Yes. We just needed you. And I think for many of us, we have to go through this process. And when you reflect back, and that's one thing that I find that many people don't reflect on, or become introspective of these gifts that unfolds in the future. They just think that it's because I quit and I started and then it became. No, you had sown seeds for 16 years. And then when you got the boots, which probably should have happened a long time ago,
interesting enough, the job before that job, so my second to last job, one of the workers came to me and she said, God's got more for you than this job. And I knew that, but she walked. There was an older white lady who I never would. It's just people you wouldn't think would come up and say stuff like that. But yeah, she walked up to me. She was like, "You shouldn't be here. God's got more for you than this job." And yeah, and look, that's why God had to kick me out of the nest because He knew I wasn't gonna jump. And I think it's because if I do something to up and leave, I'll always have in the back of my mind, did you do that? Did you make that decision? So when tough times come, I'm going to say, well, I did this, I brought this on myself, right? And I need to basically run back to Egypt because I wasn't supposed to leave, right? But to be kicked out like I was and to then get that big amount, like $20,000 worth of new business in 30 minutes was like, that had to be God, right? It took away all doubt, took away all fear. And even now, when I do have tough months, I know that I'm still on that wind from God. I'm still on that wind. Sometimes you will start to nosedive, but you just got to trust. He's not going to let you crash.
Yeah.
Another wind will come. There's an ebb and flow of life, right?
That's true. Yeah.
There's an ebb and flow, and we tend to get freaked out when the ebb comes. Like, this is not supposed to happen. I'm only supposed to have good days, right? You have to. It's the law of the universe. You're gonna have flow. You're gonna have ebb, and you have to prepare for the ebb. But a lot of times we're not preparing for the ebb because we're enjoying the flow, right? When when that money's coming in, it's like,
Yeah, that's
let's
true.
go get a new car. Let's go get this. Let's go invest in this. And then that ebb comes and it's like, you didn't put anything away? No, I didn't think this would ever come. Yeah.
It's a challenge for sure, but then it is one of those things. So I have utilized it, the storytelling and everything that I do as my superpower in my 12-hour shift as a nurse, because that changes everything. If I need to, spit out a poetry, I can Google one up and I can give you a poetry performance whilst you are in the hospital. Or, I can tell you a story to help ease. So I have utilized that into my work.
Yeah.
And that is how I keep my sanity.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is how I keep my sanity. Now, let's get to this. So when I look online, I see TruVine Publishing. It's like, oh, okay, he's doing it. It's like the picture you sent is like, whew, okay. He looks like a boss. He's the boss. So we'll see that as success, right? But we rarely see the struggle. I know you've touched a little bit on it, but what is what if you could share one of your toughest challenges? One of your toughest challenges you faced on this journey and how you overcame it.
So first, let me say, success. When you see somebody standing on a hill of success, that hill is made up of their failures, right? Success is the result of incremental failures and lessons. I fail, I learn. I fail, I learn. I fail, I learn. And we look at somebody and say, wow, they're successful. Look how high they are. But they're that high because of all of the lessons they learned through failure, right? So when it comes to a lot of new entrepreneurs, people who are afraid to step out because they're afraid to fail, I just want to say to you, you cannot have success without the failures, right? It's impossible. The child, like the baby who stands up to walk and falls, that standing up process is building the muscles. They have to fall. You have to fail. You have to have setbacks because every time you stand back up, you're building that muscle. So when it comes to the most challenging point in my business life, though, it would have been the last 3 months of 2024. Okay. So from 2020, when I started doing this full time, my trajectory was up. I was living large. I was spending, I was enjoying all of the success. And then, now this has happened before, okay? In publishing business or in all businesses, you have seasons.
Yes.
So in the last 3 months of the year, That's October, November, December. What are people focused on?
Christmas.
Christmas, Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Nobody's focused on spending money on a book ideal, right? That's a hobby. That's a bucket list. I got to get these kids presents, right? So for 20 to 20, 20, 2021, 2022, 2023, those times would come, but I had that money that really kind of kept me floating nicely. Even though I had the stress of like no business is coming in, the money was still coming in, right? The money was still there. But this last year, 2024, all of my investments, I had invested in a few cars. I was renting out cars. I had a beach condo I was renting out. All of these investments that I had put money into dried up. So no money was coming from rental cars. For some reason, the beach was just not the place last year. I don't know why, but people were not going to the beach. Business, my publishing business, people were not, they were not publishing. So everything was drying up, just drying up. And it was a very stressful time, but in my heart and mind, I knew like I'm going to get out of this, but I didn't know how. I didn't know if I was going to get out whole or if I was going to get out and lose some limbs, right? When I come out with two legs missing, right? I knew I would get out though. I knew God would get me out. I just didn't know how painful it would be to get out. Of course, you start second guessing yourself. Should I have gotten those cars? Should I have gotten this? Should I have put money in this? And I came to a point. Now, this may sound more spiritual than business related, but I came to a point where I said, okay, God, if I lose it all, I'll be okay. I said, I know you'll take care of me. Even if my car gets repoed, my car was 3 months behind. If my car gets repoed, I don't know. And when I said that, things started to shift, right? It was almost like when God told Abraham to, sacrifice his son.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, God didn't want him to sacrifice his son, but he wanted to see, are you still going to trust me if you have to lose it all? And the moment I said, I'll be okay, things start to shift. I go to the mailbox, I get a letter from the IRS. The stress hits. I'm like, and then I say, you know what? Whatever it is, it'll be okay. I open up the check.
This is what I ask. What next? Okay, I'm tired. What next?
Right. Yeah. Oh Lord, what now? Right.
What now?
I'm like, boy, they about to hit me with a tax bill. I open up. It's a check for $11,000.
Say what?
Yeah. I don't know why.
The IRS?
The IRS, U.S. government. I took it to the bank because I'm like, is this a hoax? I wanted them to look at the check because I was like,
they normally take your money.
It's a check for $11,000. I'm like, wow. I had my.
This is where the Christian will say, God will make a way when you think there's no way.
When you think there's no way. Yeah. And things began to turn around. Business started coming back, right? And I was able to pay off all my debts. And now I'm in a season where things are good and beautiful, but more important than the season that I'm in is the knowledge that I gained from that, right? Mm-hmm. The knowledge that you are always going to have a good season at some point. You are always going to have a dull season at some point, and you're always going to have a bad season at some point. What helps you is to prepare for the bad season. If I had prepared properly, and this is for all business people, things may be going great for you right now. Put some money aside because the ebb will come. Mm-hmm. The time will come where winter will come. There will be no more roses budding. There will be no more flowers budding. Everything will seem to have died. And the only thing that's going to get you through that winter is what you prepare for in your summer. So that's the knowledge and the skill and the understanding that I was able to gain from that really hard time in that 3 months, to really, and I think God will take you through those things because he wants to take you higher, and he needs you to understand that now down here, so that when you're up on the mountain where it's colder in the winter, right? Like it's even colder when you're higher, right? And you will literally freeze to death if you're not properly prepared for those times as I take you higher. So
Thank you. That is wonderful. That is wonderful. So you're into publishing, self-owned entrepreneur. This publishing business can be very, tight, competitive, and you're a minority publisher. All right. What barriers did you have to break through, if any?
right here.
The mental barrier.
Yep. More so than any external challenge, this is your biggest challenge. I like to say that my biggest enemy is my inner me, right? That's your biggest enemy. You're gonna have obstacles, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna have obstacles, and if you're up here saying, "Oh man, I can't do it," they're bigger than me. I won't win that fight. Then you're not gonna win. Like you are always right. You are always right. The man who says he can't and the man who says he can are both right. Right? So which right do you want to be? Do you want to be the right that's like, I'm a loser, I won't succeed? Or do you want to be the right that says, I can achieve anything I want, I'm worthy, I'm capable, right? And so, like I said, my biggest issue in getting to even to this point was having that amateur mindset that was like, this is a part-time gig. I need my insurance. I need my 401k. I need this. I need what society tells me I'm supposed to have, right? But as I overcame those things, which comes with time and experience, you can't trust God just out the blue. You have to experience God. You have to experience life before you can get the confidence to go through life. And if you quit every time, or if you never start because you are afraid to fail, you'll never get that confidence to know I can almost hit I can almost hit the bottom and then come back up, right? You got to have those experiences. So when it comes to like obstacles and adversities, I honestly believe my mental has been my biggest challenge. My mental, my limitations, my self limitations, because there's some places I've not been yet, and it's only because I haven't pushed myself to try to get there. Nobody's stopping me. Nobody's like, no, you can't become this. I haven't even tried yet. At least try. At least get to the point where you get opposition. Most of us don't even get to that point because we've already figured there's going to be opposition up there. I don't even want to deal with it. So yeah, that answers the question. It's all in us. We create. We can create everything that we want in this world, but we allow our minds to keep us from creating it.
What you're saying is so true. I always say I have to check the other me in various environments, because the other me, I'm scared of the other me.
You got to explain that one.
Because when I see that me is there, like there, and this me is not ready to get there, the other me is pushing us to go. So this me needs to let go and let the other me follow. So, when I'm having these conversations at work and in places, people see the other me. It's the other me in that space. But that space is too small for her. And I am limiting her. When I go on mission trips to other places and do teaching and everything, it's when the other me gets that escape to go.
Yeah.
And when I come back, I come with so self-consciousness, like, like you said, I'm not ready and whatnot. But the other me is ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is ready. One time, the CEO of the hospital chanced to pass through my unit and introduce himself, and I started asking him questions.
Uh,
And the my director was sitting there watching, and he was answering the questions on leadership, you
uh,
know. And he asked, it's like, you should think about management. And I started laughing because I'd been, and I reverted back to the bedside.
yeah.
And so the girls actually remember that, oh my goodness, you were interviewing
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
the CEO. And
Yeah.
so that is the other me that just
Yeah.
came out. It's like, it doesn't matter whether you're CEO, CFO,
Right.
whatnot. I
Yeah.
can have a conversation with
Yeah.
you. I
Yeah.
can ask you about your leadership style. What is your vision? What is your mission? What is your personal values? And
Mhm.
how are you going to move us
Yeah.
forward?
Yeah. And so many people are afraid to do that,
That is it.
you know,
Yes.
fear, that fear,
Yes.
you know.
And that's the second time a CEO of a hospital I have encountered. The first one, I didn't even know she was the CEO, but I just went at her.
Uh-huh.
Listen, 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 listen. It's like, it's nice to have this conversation with you and to get to meet you. And I asked her, what's your name? And she gave me her name. I looked at her, it's like, oh, sure, you are my CEO.
You didn't even know it.
I didn't even know it. So
Wow.
I wanted to stop talking. She said no.
Uh-huh.
These are the conversations she wants to have with staff. And because many times people see her, they don't want to say truly what
Mhm.
is on their minds or in their hearts. She appreciates for us to have this conversation on leadership.
Mhm.
And I said, well, a great leader always moves the people that she's leading. It's like a shepherd. A good shepherd knows their sheep.
Yeah.
So that is the kind of leadership that I'm looking for. So if that's the case, then well, yeah.
Yeah.
So the other me is there.
Yeah.
I am working on her coming out more and more, and giving her the center stage
Mhm.
to shine
Yeah. Yeah.
and not dim her light.
Mhm.
Okay, so enough about me. Let's come to you. So, as an entrepreneur, how do you handle self-doubt or fear of failure, especially when you're launching something new?
You said, how do I overcome self-doubt?
Yes, and failure.
That's a tough one, right? Like, it's nobody is immune to self-doubt. Every level you get to is a level that you're not familiar with, you're not comfortable with, right? So a lot of times we look at people who are here and we're like, man, they have no fear. No, they have fear to get here, but they're good here because this is, we're down here though, right? So every level is another level of insecurity, of ignorance, of imposter syndrome that you have to overcome. I'm gonna tell you a story. My first publishing contract. The lady asked me, how much do I owe you? I was so scared, Nana, to give a price. I was so afraid to charge $1,500 for something because I didn't believe I was worth it, right? This was my first time. Like, I just produced this book. Everybody did everything free for me. So I just produced this book, and it took me some hours, but I didn't feel like this was like brain surgery, right? So to tell somebody I'm going to charge you $1,500, I was so afraid that I just started hemming and hawing. I'm like, okay, well, I need to find out the price of this, and it got so bad, Nana. I said, I'll pay half. Yes, the way your face just dropped. I offered to pay half to publish her book. Now, luckily, this was a friend of the family. She got frustrated with me, and she ended, like I say, she mercy killed the call. She said, you know what? Just figure it out and give me a call when you get the price, okay? And that allowed me to like get out of that panic mode, and then just, okay, I'm charging $1,500, right? And then I give her the price, and she's like, okay. And And so like when I tell you like every level you have to break, you have to attack the fear wall. You have to charge into it, even if it hurts, even if you bust your nose on it. You have to charge that fear wall until you knock that fear wall down for you to get beyond it. Because if you don't, you're not going to get beyond it. So there is no magic trick to overcoming the fears, the insecurities. The only way to do it is to do it. Do it wrong, do it bad, until you figure out each time how to get better at it, right? And that's the key to life, right? That's the key to life. Like you're not going to transcend and then show up stronger and braver. That's never going to happen. You're gonna have to get in that ring, fight, get punched, get your nose busted, and realize, okay, I can deal with a busted nose. I can deal with a black eye, and I can do it again.
Or if you are like Muhammad Ali, you give yourself all the positive self-talk. Even if you can't do it, you wing it until you
Right.
believe it and you
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the only way to overcome.
Yes. So let's get to the authors you've worked with. You've worked with many authors, I could tell.
Mhm.
It's 20 years in the making. It is not 2 decades.
Yeah.
It's quite some time,
Yes.
right? So, can you share with me and the audience a project or a book you have worked on that truly moved you or left a lasting impact on you?
Well,
A book or books?
you don't get me in trouble. You know, I got a lot of clients.
That is why I said a book or books. So
Well, I
that
will
one
say this.
person doesn't feel
Yeah.
favored over than another.
Let's see. Well, I'll say this. All of the books, to me, are almost miraculous. These people come out of nowhere, right?
Like I came out of nowhere.
Like out of nowhere.
I was
take that for
somewhere.
granted. You're like, I don't take it for granted. Out of billions of people, right? There are 8 billion people on this earth. And
Mhm.
somehow we connected. I don't take that for granted. I don't think that's a small thing. So for someone to trust me and for me to be a platform to help someone get their message out, right? To me, that's impactful. So everybody that I've published, right? Because I truly believe that authors change the world, right? If you think about all of the people who have changed the world, right? Their opinions have been based on information that they've read, books they read, right? Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, Abraham Lincoln, anybody, their opinions have been shifted and shaped by books that they read that impacted the way they see the world. So that's why when I talk about publishing, I say everybody should write a book, right? There's no new thing under the sun, but everyone has a unique perspective, right? So you and I are on the same stream, but we have 2 different perspectives. You're seeing pictures behind me of books. I'm seeing pictures and books behind you. That's 2 different perspectives, right? And your perspective can change the way somebody looks at life, can change the way somebody looks at their own lives. You know how many times people have not decided to take their own lives because of one person's words of encouragement or words of love, you know? So when I think about what I do in book publishing, you know, it's more than the money. It's the purpose. It's the ability to put words out there that impact people's lives and change the way they see life. And I truly believe if you change one person's life, that person changes their family changes their community, the community changes the city, the state, the country, the world. You can change the world as an author.
You can change the world as an author.
Mhm.
Now, I am borrowing that. Yeah. So, what would you say is your proudest accomplishment so far? Not just professionally, but personally as well.
Being present for my family and my kids. Everything I do is really to set up a life for them and a future for them. And that's my proudest accomplishment. Like all of my kids My youngest is 20 years old now.
Well, you gave yourself. I didn't ask.
Yeah. No, I'm 47. I'm okay with my age. But my youngest is 20, and my father was gone when I was 10. Okay. My mom raised me and my two brothers. I saw how hard it was on her. So I I'm just so glad I didn't make that mistake. Because your greatest treasure is your family and your children. That's your greatest treasure. To be able to come home, have peace in your home, to have kids who love you, to have kids who know wherever, like my kids have to tell me no. No, Dad, don't come, right? Whatever they're doing, I'm like, I'm there. What time? No, I don't want you to come. I'm just telling you what I'm doing, right?
Yes.
And so that's my greatest accomplishment, more so than the books I've published, although that is a great sense of pride for me. It makes me feel that I'm doing my purpose, that I am multiplying the gift that God gave me. But yeah, being present and with my family from the beginning is the greatest accomplishment in my mind.
Beautiful. If you had one message for young people dreaming big but scared to start, what would it be?
Get started. Get involved. That's what I tell my kids. Get involved. Don't be in the shadows. Don't sit in the shadows and be afraid to get out there and make a name for yourself or impact your society, impact your community. Everybody has a specific gift. Everybody. And fear is just the only thing we have to fear now is we fear hurting our egos. We don't have to run from bears and dinosaurs anymore. We're not, we don't have those fears. We fear now like failure because we don't want to be embarrassed. Get over that. Like get out there and try. The more you try, the better you're going to get at it. The better you get at it, the higher you're going to go in life. Don't be afraid. And I tell people, don't be a scaredy cat. Don't be a scaredy cat. And scaredy cat is an acronym, CAT. People are afraid of they don't have enough cash. They're afraid they don't have the ability, and they're afraid they don't have the time, right? But you always have the cash. You'll have the cash when you pursue something that you have a purpose. The universe will conspire to help you get what you need to go where you want to go, right? Cash is never an actual hindrance. People will give you money to help you. You can get sponsors. You can get, donations. Cash is not, and we always get the cash we need for the stuff we want.
Yes.
We just get scared to make investments, and then we say, "Oh, I don't have the money." So people are afraid of the cash. They're afraid they don't have the ability, right? And that goes back to your talk about fear and failure. Like you're not going to get the ability until you continue to practice. The more you do it, the more able you become. It's like we live in a world where we want immediate gratification. We want to try once and be successful. It takes time. So do it. Get out and do it. Whatever it is you think you want to do, get out and do it, right? Public speaking, get out and just start talking. Get on social media, just start talking. You don't need somebody to invite you out to speak to their group. Get on social media and just start talking, right? Like you're doing. Do this podcast. Do something, right? So get out and do it. The more you do, the more able you'll become. And time. We all get 24 hours. Everybody, from Jeff Bezos to the homeless man on the street. We all blessed with the same amount of hours. So you have the time. You cannot. Nobody can tell me they don't have time, okay? Because I guarantee you, you're probably spending about 4 to 8 hours watching television. You're probably spending a lot of time on this cell phone here looking at social media, right? So you have the time. It's just you're blowing your time on things that don't move you forward. So that would be my encouragement to the young people. Use your time properly.
Use your time properly. On that note, if we are looking for you, how would we get a hold of you?
So I do want to say this. I want to publish your book. Okay.
Okay.
I want to publish your book. That's you, Nana. That's everybody. I want to publish your book, not just because I because it's my business, but I believe that your book can change the world. I believe you have a message, a special, unique perspective. And I know that we had talked about the process. So what I do is I believe in helping authors turn their books into thriving businesses, right? I believe that a book has the ability to transform your life into wealth, um, freedom, and fulfillment, right? To give you wealth, freedom, and fulfillment. And that I'm talking about that from my own experience, right? My little $10 book back in 2004 that I probably sold 100 copies of now allows me to publish books for people around the world, and I make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year from that book, right? Your book has multiple businesses in it. One line in your book could be one sentence in your book could be a new business. So I want to help authors not just write books, but turn those books into businesses that can create wealth, freedom, and fulfillment in your life. The way I do charge because I work for you, right? I'm not a publisher where I pay you and then I own the book, but I work for you to make your vision a reality. You control the rights to your book, and I'm basically your production team, right? So for Nana, if it's Nana Inc., then TruVine Publishing is the publishing department down in the basement. And whatever you need, hey, Tim, I need more books. I need you to produce this for me. That's our job, right? So you retain full control of your work. You retain a lot more control of the money. You keep most of the money. I do get commissions and fees, so you don't keep all the money. But you keep more money than the industry standards with the way I do business. So I want to publish your book. You can reach me at 615-44-BOOKS. That's 615
44 books.
44 books. TruVinePublishing.org is the website. Follow me on on Facebook at TruVine Publishing. You follow me on Instagram at Tim the Publisher. You'll get a lot of this talk that I'm doing now. You'll get a lot of this on my social media.
Okay.
So Tim the Publisher, and I'm on TikTok at The Legacy Author. The Legacy Author.
And on LinkedIn?
And LinkedIn is Timothy O'Bond.
Okay.
Yes.
Viewers, thank you for listening in to us, tuning in with us. I have been with Timothy Bond, author and publisher, entrepreneur with TruVine Publishing. Thank you so much. It's been absolutely amazing to have another storyteller on the show. Thank you.
Thank you, Nana, for having me.